Morning. Brush, my bad. I should have spent more time trying to figure out the new overlay. I'll have it up next time. Do one more with the retro style. Glitch Cactus. I owe you a video. I'll make you that video at some point. I didn't think you'd get banned this month, but not my call. Congrats. What's up, Dio? Dio, are you going to Riptide? Is Riptide already I know they're like close to being the biggest LAN ever, beating out Low Tide City. Is Riptide officially the biggest one? Yes. Am I going to Riptide? No. No, we can't. There's no way. When PJ, I believe when PJ's 6 months old, he can get COVID shots. And I don't know if he needs like 2 rounds of them or what, but we're not going to travel anywhere extensive until he's at least got those kinds of vaccinations in him. He's only got like frame 1 of PJ coming out. They gave him hepatitis B and I believe vitamin K. So that's like the only shots he's had. So the older the kid gets, the more immunization naturally he builds up, and scientifically we inject into him. Then yeah, we'll go. But no, we're not going to. We won't be at Riptide. We won't be at Big House either. But we'll see about Low Tide City. Yes, they give COVID shots to babies. You have to be at least 6 months old to get. I believe that's when we can get him his first dose. And again, I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's just like a 1 dose kind of thing, or if they need like the double dose or whatever. But I'm sure COVID vaccines have changed a lot. Since I first got him. But we're excited. We're going to be watching Riptide from home. Hello, good morning, welcome in, everyone. It's good to be back. So far, I think I remember how to do these things. How are you guys doing? When you have a kid, you just get so much attention put on you. Like, everyone comes to visit you, everyone DMs you, everyone sends you stuff. It's kind of weird. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing all right. Sofa King, I saw your tweet. Your tweet about your stuff with competitive Splatoon. Practice for Riptide, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about your flat tire. I saw that tweet as well. You got 2 before LTC, you got to get 2 more before Riptide. It's at least the other 2, right? It's not the same 2 tires you're replacing. Invaders is back in hibernation mode. So we're all college students. Well, so be it. Invaders will win like someday. I remember when we used to scrim you guys, like back in 2019. You want to start your own podcast? Good. We need more podcasts. Hopefully the 2 episodes you did here was worthwhile. I've had 190 episodes to learn how to do this. The more you do it, the more you learn how to not suck at it and get better. Nito, you had Honda Squivik in your top 10, right? Somewhere in your top 10? DRF, did you see the Area Cup, like the Splat World Championships, basically pinged you on Twitter and was like, hey, follow us back, bro? Like, look, when the Splat World Championships follows you on Twitter, you follow them back, DRF. They shouldn't have to ask you to follow them. What are you doing, bro? When someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes! Damn. This is why Japan hates the West. It's because they have to ask us for follows when we should be following them already. Come on, DRF. Come on now. Stretch out for this one. Hold on. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are blaming me for not believing in your team, blaming me for believing in your team, getting softcore porn ads during your adventures on Send Out Q. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, look who's back. It just felt so empty without me. And here I am, somewhat backish. Probably not going to do an episode next week unless there's something that I feel like is really interesting to do. This is more so a test pilot to see if I can even continue to do these things, to see how if I can still find time to actually write down things I want to do, and I can like talk about things without in the back of my mind knowing that my wife is probably drowning in our son downstairs while this is all going on. So which, by the way, the kid is born 3 weeks old today. It's been 3 weeks. Time and space have no meaning anymore. Like there's no such thing as a Monday or a Sunday. Those are the same things to us. Like the sun just rises and sets. That's all there is that's going on. It's a bizarre thing, but everyone's doing good. PJ's doing great. I did tweet out a picture of him in my lap as I was playing some video games. That's probably the extent of what anybody's going to actually see of the kid. You're never going to see PJ on this show or any other kind of content related thing. I know some people who make TikTok videos of their kids, and it's like, is that why you had the kid, to do stuff like that? We're never going to be those kinds of parents. So you're not going to see PJ in this kind of environment. By the way, PJ stands for Pop Gun Jr. That's not his actual name, but that's just what you guys are going to know him as. PJ's doing good. Miss Pop Gun's doing good. Congratulations to Cornflower and her husband, who had a kid. Their son was born, I believe, just like a week after PJ debuted onto planet Earth. And congratulations to them. Hope everything's going fine with them. I don't know about Captain Bob. I know eventually their kid is going to be due. And also Greg and his wife are expecting a child, I believe, by the end of the year. So exciting stuff going on. A lot of Splatoon babies getting born. And all of them are boys. I don't know about Greg, if they've figured out the gender of their kid yet or not, but so far all of them have been boys. Exciting stuff going on. Special shout out to the guest hosts that have come on to fill in for the Popcast while I've been on paternity leave. I'm still on paternity leave for the next 3 weeks. Brush, Nito, JPEG have all done episodes. Nito's done 2. There's still one more guest host who is going to do an episode of the Popcast. I think in 2 weeks. I believe it's in 2 weeks. It's going to be the Riptide preview. Got a really good person lined up for this one. And got a great guest that's going to be on that show as well. So that's something to look forward to. And also, Brush made the new overlay that you've seen the last 4 episodes. That's the overlay I'm going to be using going forward. I just PJ's been a little fussy today, a little fussier than usual. So I haven't really gotten a lot of time. I just got time to write this down, and then I sat down like 5 minutes before. It was like, oh, I can't figure out how to get the new overlay up and running, but I'll figure that out before the next episode. So this is the last one on this old overlay that I've been using for 170-ish episodes at this point. So it's time. It's time for a new fresh coat of paint. And Twitter's not a thing anymore, and my Discord thing needs numbers taken off. So there's a lot to go off there. Also, a special shout out to all the people who filled into the tournaments since I've been out. Toasting Wolf for sure, who's been running Proving Grounds. along with the rest of the staff that's been great for Proving Grounds. Toasting Wolf also helped out on day 2 of Low Ink yesterday. I saw them in the announcement channel. I was like, what the hell are those two doing in there? They're helping running it because Brush is moving on to college on Sunday, so wasn't available. Hohen was available the entire weekend except for some portions. And obviously, shout-outs to Brush and Hohen for being head TOs for this Low Ink. The first Low Ink that didn't have a Pop Gun or JPEG, and well, no, JPEG was behind the stream. So this is the first one without my involvement since March of 2020 when my team won Low Ink. Oh, and there's the 20th time I've referenced my team winning Low Ink. Glory days. And yes, shout outs to Saf and Knox. The first time since March of 2020 where I did not commentate the grand finals. Saf and Knox did a fantastic job. Everyone in chat loved them. And I loved making fun of the idiots in chat by pinning all the stupid things they were I pinned all their stupid little messages. I had fun watching Low Ink. We'll get to that. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Little Squid League and Squid Junction are taking place this upcoming Saturday, August the 26th. They're running basically at the same time. This is the 50th edition of Squid Junction. It's got a prize pool. It's run at a NAEU-friendly time slot. I think that's going to do really well. I think a lot of people are going to sign up for it and play in it, except for the Little Squid League teams, because they're all going to be playing the Little Squid League. There's going to be a lot of people playing competitive Splatoon on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there's something that appeals to everybody. So make sure you sign up for a couple of those events. Also, Super Jump was confirmed. Super Jump 3 was announced yesterday. That's going to be taking place in September. There's not going to be a Low Ink in September. Staff from IPL Low Ink usually helps run with Super Jump, and it's a lot to run a 2-day weekend back-to-back in the same month. So make sure, sorry. If you were going to play in Low Ink, play in Super Jump. That's what most of the Low Ink teams have done the past couple of Super Jumps anyways. It is a tournament you're going to want to play in. It is the biggest tournament on planet Earth, regardless of where you are on planet Earth. It is the king tournament of the entire community, as far as online is concerned. So make sure you sign up for that. Today we're going to be recapping Low Ink. A Low Ink that I was not a part of, but I did spectate and watch. There was a lot of things that I want to talk about from the things that I saw this past weekend. But first, there was another tournament that took place this weekend that may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. The Splatoon, the Splat World Championships took place yesterday, and history was made. Usually, teams from the West, when they play in the Splat World Championships, do bad, very collectively bad. But not this time around. Jackpot, for the first time in Jackpot/Sayonara's history, swept their first opponent. You know how often somebody sweeps their round one opponent from the West in the Splat World Championships? It doesn't happen very often. I believe Starburst has done it once, and I think Alliance Rogue has done it once, but now Jackpot, who's gone to round 2 before, for the first time ever, they swept their opponent. That is worth celebrating. Who did they play, by the way? Let's see. Probably some crazy monster from Japan we've never heard of in round 1 of the Splat World Championships. They played the Greasy Goblins from Australia. What? That's who they played round 1? Okay. But that's right. the Australia/New Zealand region finally made their first ever appearance in the Splatoon World Championships. And while they didn't last very long, but, them's the breaks. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that Australia/New Zealand is making a little bit of representation here. In fact, this tournament that used to be dominated by Japan-only teams, for the first time in Splat World Championship history, only 3 of the 8 teams came from Japan. Only 3. Japan was the minority country in the Splat World Championships. How incredible is that? What a big step up. Actually, no, they weren't the minority. 3 was still more than what the other regions had total. But still, things are moving in the right direction as far as inclusiveness is concerned. However, as I'm sitting here looking at the Splat World Championships, I'm starting to realize this thing kind of sucks. When you stop and think about it, this thing kind of sucks a little bit. You are talking about the Splat World Championships, essentially the Super Bowl, the crown peak achievement, the highest level that you can achieve in this video game. It's not winning an Overlord tournament. It's not winning Super Jump. It's not winning Big House. It's not winning Low Ink, although some of you think that is the peak of everything. No, it is winning the Splat World Championships. And when you stop and look at this thing kind of critically, you start to realize there's a lot of flaws here that diminish this peak, the mountaintop of the competitive scene. And it kind of sucks. So let's look at a couple of things here that I want to nitpick, but be forewarned, this might seem a little bit negative. I'll bring it back around at the end because I saw something today that made me really excited. So just hang tight with us here. Don't clip things out of context. Come on. First off, how do you qualify for the Splat World Championships? This isn't an open invite kind of thing. You have to be invited based off of qualifiers for how you actually participate in this. The qualifiers for the Splat World Championships have been a make it up as you go along kind of thing for the past 5 qualifiers that it had. Let's look back at the summer of last year. The qualifier for that was Super Jump 2. Now, it was announced ahead of time in conjunction with the Splat World Championships that the top 2 teams from North America and Europe from Super Jump 2 were going to be invited to the Splat World Championships that year. Cool. That's good that you know that ahead of time. There's extra incentive to play in Super Jump 2. The problem is, with that Super Jump being an open invite tournament with the entire world playing in it, you had teams from North America that could knock out teams from Europe earlier before they could finish in the top 2 of their specific region. And you could also have teams from Japan knock teams out as well. It's like Japan's already making it in. Japan doesn't win a qualifying spot based off the Super Jump, but they can eliminate Alliance Rogue or Oro Jackson or whoever before they even get to a spot to where they're in the final spot for their region. That's kind of messed up. But that was the qualifier that they went with. The next qualifier, we are looking at the autumn of last year. Technically the autumn, those took place in like December. They came to us, IPL, and they asked us to run a qualifier. Well, Proving Grounds had already started up and running at that point. We wanted to make that geared towards high level. We said, okay, let's take the Proving Grounds brand. Let's build a double elimination tournament. And to fix the issue that was going on in Super Jump, let's make it to where the Europe and the Americas are separated. So North and South America will play each other in their own double elimination bracket, and Europe will play each other in their own double elimination bracket as well. If you win the winner's side, you qualify. If you win the loser's side, like you finish losers grand finals, you qualify for that as well. So 2 teams from each region were able to move on. You only play teams from your own region, and we catered the rules to be similar to what you would see in the Splat World Championship. Seemed to work out pretty good, and everything worked out for them. I thought it was pretty good. We didn't see them come back to us, though. They didn't come back to us and say, hey, do you guys want to run the next qualifier? Instead, if you wanted to qualify for the Splat World Championships after that, the spring section, you know what they used as the qualifier? Ink TV. They took the top 2 teams from each region from the Ink TV League and just invited them straight out of that. They didn't announce it ahead of time. There wasn't a, hey, if you play in Ink TV in your top 2 regions, you're going to get the invite. They just said, oh, we need to get teams somehow. Let's just grab them based off of results that they did in this tournament. Oh, okay. So they just randomly took teams and they just invented, okay, let's just create some excuse to invite these teams to the next level of our tournament. Fine. You see the inconsistency here. Now, the next qualifier, the one that you just took play, or the tournament that took place yesterday, technically the Summer 23 Splat World Championships. The qualifier for that one was Mode Cup. So take Mode Cup and then just change it to where teams qualify straight out based on this tournament. So basically a qualifier with similar rules like Super Jump was the first time, where different regions can knock each other out, but then move on from there. And there was something to where like 3 teams from North America went, and only 1 team from Europe and 1 from Australia, or Oceania, I guess you should say. So it wasn't like a guaranteed 2 Europe automatic, 2 North America automatic. This seems like the top 5 just kind of moved on there. So fine, that's good. I like, as a spectator, I like it when they do actual events that are pre-set ahead of time. This is a qualifier, instead of what they did with the Ink TV one. It was just like, sure, let's just grab these guys and go with it. And I get it. If you're wondering why they're so finicky with how they go about in like just grabbing the teams and coming up with these qualifiers, I can tell you from personal experience, when we set up the Proving Grounds one, they came to us and said, hey, we need teams this week. Can you run a qualifier this week? And it's like Monday, and we're like, yeah, we can throw this together. So we put something together, announced it, and everyone was like, wow, you're only giving us like 6 days to prepare for this? And we're like, we got, like, this is the deadline they gave us. We played it all on a Sunday because there was an Overlord tournament on a Saturday. If you recall, this is when Sayonara lost to Starburst 4 times in one weekend. They played them twice in an Overlord Turf War ladder stage, played them on Saturday in the single elimination Overlord bracket, and then played them again on Sunday in the Proving Grounds World Cup qualifier, and lost them all 4 times. And their Sayonara is tweeting out, we're so drained of playing all this Splatoon, but these are all the tournaments we want to play in, so we have to do it. It kind of sucks. And now with that mindset, I get why the other times. I feel like whoever they're delegating to get teams from the West, I don't think they're getting a lot of deadline to figure it. I think they're like, hey, we're just going to do Splat World Championships. We need Western teams. Go get them. And I think sometimes they're like, well, we don't have time. Let's just Ink TV, sure. Let's just grab those teams. So if we can just get to a point to where these qualifiers are more consistent in the format of, if it's Mode Cup every now and then going forward, that's great. I thought it was going to be Proving Grounds going forward. It was not. It's so inconsistent with how they do the qualifiers. And B, if they could just be more consistent with what teams are actually taken from all these regions, that'd be a big step forward. And if they give everyone enough time ahead of time to where they know they can play in these things, instead of just, oh, The qualifiers tomorrow. Who can sign up and play for it? Well, I want to play for it. Let me find ways to make my schedule work. It's so frustrating, but hopefully there's more consistency going forward with these things. Now, in all honesty, the qualifiers don't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of lottery system or tournament you want to use or anything to determine who the teams are that's going to go. We know who the teams are that's going to go. It doesn't matter what you do. It's always going to be Starburst, Alliance Rogue, and some either jackpot / sayonara. Those are the 3 teams that are going to go. And those are the 3 teams that have any hope of keeping their head above water long enough to where they survive to round 2 before they absolutely get curb stomped, which is historically what has gone on in round 2. Nobody from the West has won more than one singular game in round 2. Nobody. They've never pushed it to a game 5. They've never gone up 2-0 on their opponent. It's not been very competitive, but those are the only 3 teams that can do something. The 4th team, you're just there as a participation trophy at this point. The other 4th teams that have qualified for these tournaments so far have been I Heart Oranges, which was the EU team from Super Jump, Oro Jackson, Graveyard Shift, Crushed Soda in the most recent one, and technically Greasy Goblins. You know what their record is in these tournaments? All those other teams combined per game, 0 wins, 10 losses. It doesn't matter. The qualifiers do not matter here. Just get Starburst in there at some point and see what they do. Now, my issue with this tournament, with the Splat World Championships, isn't who is playing, but more so, what is the format of this thing? The format of the Splat World Championships, which only has 8 teams in it, by the way, is single elimination, with round 1 being best of 3. Why? Why is that? That is so dumb. This is the Super Bowl of competitive Splatoon, and you can be eliminated in 10 minutes? What's the point? Why are we doing all these qualifiers and all these convoluted ways to determine who the teams are just for the teams to be destroyed in 10 minutes? It takes longer to create just the tweet that says the format is for the qualifier than it does for the teams that actually play the sets. Single elimination, best of 3 with only 8 teams is absolutely bogus. And I know I'm not looking at chat, but I already know what somebody's going to say. But Popgun, don't you run Proving Grounds, which is a single elimination tournament? First off, Proving Grounds is a bi-weekly Friday night tournament that has absolutely no prize to it whatsoever. And second off, we don't use best of 3 for our single elimination unless you're like a super baby team that we seeded so low and there's only a handful of you that play in round 1, and we're not going to let you drag down to the tournament for the teams we're actually trying to get to play in our events. Everybody else is best of 5, because if you're going to do single elim, you got to at least give your teams at least a best of 5 to try to get themselves going. And you guys are like, oh, you make one mistake and you're eliminated. Well, yeah, this is a tournament, sweetheart. This isn't a scrim. Keep up. But you can't compare Proving Grounds to the Splat World Championships, so that's off the table. You might be saying this, though. But Popgun, Japan is the one that's running this event. I think they know what they're doing. No! Just because it's Japan doesn't mean they're immune from criticism. And I don't care who came up with this one. If it was Japan or God, they did a bad job. This format sucks. You shouldn't be doing a single elimination when you only have 8 teams and round 1 be best of 3. That's bogus. I don't care. And I know we got this whole mindset that Japan is correct about everything that they do in competitive Splatoon. Maybe so. But just because they do things a certain way, a different way doesn't mean that it's the optimal way. Yes, they used InkVac. Select players used InkVac for Japan teams in the Splat World Championships. Cool. Does that mean you guys are going to be successful as InkVac? Does that mean that's the new meta? No. Remember back during the pandemic when Bagel and Biscuit were doing pickups together? What was the comp they were famous for? Double Nautilus. Does that mean because Bagel and Biscuit are running double Nautilus comps that's the new meta? That you guys are going to be successful running double Nautilus? No. You know why it works for them? Because Bagel invented the Nautilus and Biscuit perfected it. You got two of the best Nautilus players in the world. Oh, this must be the new meta because they're winning tournaments with this. No. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's optimal. Same thing with looking at things from Japan. We can look at the tournament format that they're using and come to a collective decision that it sucks and needs to be better if it's going to be known as the peak of competitive Splatoon. Now, I got some good news for you guys. I found this out as I was doing research, which if you're going to do a podcast, do freaking research ahead of time. I did research for this, and I was looking at the Splat World Championships. Today, they posted a bracket for the next Splat World Championships, and take a look at this. It's a double elimination format. Whoa, this is a huge step up. So the next Splat World Championships, I'm assuming, based off of this, is going to be a double elimination. That's awesome. Look, you only got 8 teams. It's not going to take that long. There's not that much of a wait time between winners finals and grand finals, like maybe 30 minutes if everything's running smoothly. So all of our Western teams that get curb stomped in round 1, now they get to play some different team and try to get some more experience and grow and get a little bit of a better standing in these things. This is a huge step forward. If this is true, now they could have just this could just be the placeholder for the format. Like I haven't seen any official announcement. This is what the next one's going to be, but if I were to put on my thinking hat or my conspiracy theory, now that at least 5 teams of the 8 in the Splat World Championships, which by the way, all these slots are reserved. You got 2 from the West, one from Europe, United States. I don't know what ES is. It was supposed to be EU. You got EU, Australia. It seems like it's going to be the same amount. I'm wondering if Western influence is taking place here into these tournaments. If they're starting to say, hey, in the West, we would do double limb with these kinds of teams. I know Japan is it's famous for having super fast, quick tournaments that are very, very by the book and get done with. Giving something with a little bit of, hey, here's an incentive to stick around a little bit longer. Here's a loser's bracket is a very Western style Splatoon kind of thing. And I'm glad to see that bleed over into the Splat World Championships. And that is what's most important about these Splat World Champions. It's not about who wins because it's always Japan. It's not about closing the gap against Japan because, well, that's not happening. If you've been looking at the record of the Splat World Championships, the West is not good against Japan. In fact, yesterday, when the West played a team from Japan, they won 0 sets and lost 4 of them. Per games, they won 0 games and lost 9 of them. Oh, but they were close. They were close losses. Okay, are you guys like applying for a div estimate here? Like close losses don't mean anything. They didn't win a single damn game against the team from Japan. All of them from the West couldn't win a single game against the team from Japan. Remember that when Super Jump happens next week, when maybe like the Kings or Flippa Floppa doesn't win Super Jump, and then you guys start tweeting out how the gap has finally been closed. Like beating a team that's playing at 6 a.m. Monday morning in a Western major is an indicator of closing the gap. All these Splat World Championships are hilariously one-sided. There is no gap. The gap can't be closed. It's way too wide at this point. But that's not the point. That's not the point of these Splat World Championships. The point is making the connection with Japan. There is a whole country that thinks this game is one of the best games ever. And we have almost zero connection to them, or at least we did before. Now we're starting to see a lot more Japanese influence into the Western tournaments. And the fact that there could be a double elimination coming forward shows that there's some Western influence taking place in Japan as well. Mixing the two cultures together and bringing everybody together only serves to benefit all of us. And I'm excited about that. I would love to see. I don't agree with this mindset. And I know I've said this many times because it's been tweeted out many times. But I don't agree with this mindset of we should ban Japan from all of our majors. No, we want to see more teams from Japan compete in our majors. You had that player, I believe it was Clicks, who moved over and is in +1. Now you've seen a lot more Japan representation not just in majors, not just in Mode Cup, but you've seen players play in weeklies as well. You're seeing a lot more influence in a bunch of other the events that we're doing here, and you'd like to see more. I would love, how awesome would this be if the next Big House Grand Finals isn't Starburst giving some +2 level team a free demonstration on how to play Tower Control Art Academy? What if the next Big House was Starburst versus a team from Japan? Like, could you imagine the atmosphere for that? How much we would treat those players from Japan like rock stars over here, and how much interest there would be in that kind of set with no lag, no latency, a LAN mode, the best that North America can produce versus some top players from Japan. And how awesome would that be for Starburst? Because no matter what LAN Starburst is at, nobody's rooting for them. It's not because anybody hates Starburst. There's nothing to dislike about Starburst. We just like underdogs. And Starburst is never the underdog. The only reason we could cheer for Starburst in person is if they're playing a team from Japan and they're the underdogs. And everybody would get on board with that. And that would be so cool. And I'm not saying Splat World Championship is going to lead to that. But the more connection that we can get between our two corners of the world only serves to benefit everything. So I'm excited about the future with the Splat World Championships. It's okay to point out that the current format of it sucks. And I'm assuming somebody got into the right person's ear and said, hey, this sucks, because the next one seems like it's going to be better, and that benefits all of us. So not concerned about the West being competitive with Japan. It's just, it hasn't happened, and it might not happen for a long time. I just want to see more Japan in general. Few highlighted messages. I'm gonna apply for my div estimate. Wish me luck. I should start a business. You give me $5, I'll give you a div appraisal. How about that? It can be your official one. Oh. Jam points don't cut it. Formula is expensive. It's time for the weekly recap. SOS number 119 took place last Wednesday. Q-Zopa was the team that won that one. Basically, Gus with a combination of Smoothie and Nightmare players. Velocity took second place, and Carrying Pulp rounds out your top three. Nicely done, Velocity. It's good during low ink leak that you see some low ink teams start to pop off. I know their roster's changed since they won low ink. Their name has changed as well. But Velocity, I see you guys taking that step up since being a low ink band because you won it, and only good things are going to come from here. I don't know how they convinced to get, or how they're able to get bronze on their roster, but it seems the right kind of kookiness to fit in with the rest of that roster there. Hammerhead was won by She's Gonna Leg. I could get canceled for saying that. Mako Bracket was won by 1989. And Lantern Bracket was won by Bell Peppers. Ugh. Proving Ground 19 took place last Friday. It was run by In Control Red Sun. Spin takes second place, and TKAK rounds out your top three. This is the first Proving Grounds that In Control Red Sun has won. They've come close a couple of times, just been skill diffed a few times in the top four. This time around, it was a double elimination tournament because only 17 teams signed up. Sindow Q effect is real. That'd be a good podcast topic in the future. Maybe next week. Who knows? Gus and Pincher highlight this spin roster. In fact, Gus had a very good IPL week as far as getting some hardware is concerned, winning SOS 19 in second place, Proving Ground 19 as well. Speaking of Sindow Q, Sindow hosted a tournament on Sunday in the zone number 30 took place during these, I guess a little bit earlier than the Splat World Championships. It was won by Pablo, which was made up of Wave, Biscuit, Keo, and Toby. Guru takes second place. That is basically Alliance Rogue, except it had Fuzzy in place of Volti, so they don't have a carbon roller unless they did run a carbon roller. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know what was going on until I saw Last Resort tweeted out they got 5th place. The team that got 3rd place was One Ball Wizard. 43 teams played in this double elimination tournament that took place on Sunday. Eventually, this is going to lead to Sindow Q points. Since it's on the Sindow Q site, any tournament played on the Sindow Q site, the results you get for that tournament are going to directly be implanted into your score to help you become Leviathan, Bronze, Metal, Ghost Rider, or whatever. I don't know what the placements are for that exactly yet, but that is the future. Not divs that you guys keep giving yourselves. Apparently everyone who's Div 3 plays in low ink nowadays. Now you win it. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by this little nose sucker thing. So when your baby has a congested nose, what you do is you put this in their nostril and you just suck in through here, and you literally suck the snot right out of them. I have not used this yet because this is gross, but my wife has used this basically every other day on our kid. Now, based off of the tweets that you guys put out, it's pretty obvious that some of you never had your mom suck the snot out of your nose, and it kind of shows. So, might want to look into this, even though some of y'all are a little bit more grown. The Nose Fida Snot Sucker. The official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. Hi. Ugh. Kids are effing gross, dude. Believe it or not, there was a low ink this past weekend. I had almost no involvement in it. There was one point I did have to step in during the verification stage because things were a little bit lagging behind. But other than that, I had no involvement in this one. It was important for me to step away and to just let the thing run by itself. And all the things that I do that I typically do for low ink for other people to step up and do it and figure out, okay, here's a mistake to make. For example, I noticed before the map pool came out that Splat Zones Wahoo was on there. And I know, as well as all of you, that Splat Zones Wahoo should not be played in competitive Splatoon anymore. I didn't step in and say, hey, don't do that, because it was important for the person who made the map list to deal with that criticism themselves so that they don't make those same kind of mistakes as far as like making their map pool going forward. I will say this though, you will never see game 1 of Grand Finals be Splat Zones Wahoo again. I promise you. That is the first time I think ever that we did a Grand Finals where game 1 wasn't Splat Zones Mahi, and it got counterpicked later in that set anyways. So a little bit of a curveball there for you guys. In case you're, I don't know where that came from, honestly, but that's, I think like a launch point thing is where that came from. But regardless, I was hands off and I was able to just kind of sit back and watch things. And it was run fantastically. I saw some people complaining on Twitter. People always complain on Twitter. Who cares? Life goes on. I thought Loink was a fantastically done thing. The main topic on Twitter, though, was the upsets. Now, upsets are not a new thing for Low Ink. You look at my top 10, the teams that do in my top 10 historically don't do that good. But there was one elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. And typically I don't like to talk about teams who don't do well Low Ink because I don't want to come in here and be negative. But when you're a team that finishes in second place last month and top 4 the month prior, and you're so close to being a team that should win this one, I think it's fair to point out in a fair way when you don't do really good at all. And of course, I'm talking about Kubata 2 Euros, who I thought would be the favorite to win this tournament, and in my opinion, should have been the favorite going into this one. Had a really rough Saturday. 3-3. Didn't even qualify. I think they would have qualified for an Epsilon bracket if there was enough teams for that, but didn't even qualify for Sunday. That is rough. And I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse, but this is the one thing I want to point out with this. Because if you go back and watch that Grand Finals last month of Kubata 2 Euros and 8K Ping, Kubata almost won that one. Like really, really almost won that set. It went to a game 7. They had the lead going into overtime, but they were down 4 players to 1. But if you go back and watch that one player that was alive threw a splat bomb and got a double with it on the zone and then almost killed the blob. If they killed the blob, Kubata wins that whole tournament and they're banned from Low Ink. You know what's crazy to think about? They came that close to winning Low Ink and they didn't, and they come back and play next month and they get 3-3. That's like so bizarre. My point being, just because you are a Low Ink banned team, which you could have made the case for Kubata to be a Low Ink banned team, doesn't mean you would do good in Low Ink. Like, Low Ink is a difficult tournament. It's a really difficult tournament to win, to do good in, to qualify out of. It's extremely difficult. Just because you don't do good in Low Ink doesn't mean you're a bad team. It just means you had a rough day. Kubata clearly just had a rough day. And it's different going forward because everybody knows who they are. They've seen them make the podium 2 months in a row. They got a giant ass target on their back. That's on them for doing good. When you beat a bunch of other teams, they get mad and they want to get revenge on you. We saw some revenge take place in this very tournament. I didn't even realize it till I went back and did some research here. But that's the point I want to get to here. I'm not a Kubata 2 Euros apologist, but there's several other teams. Team 7 didn't get the job done. Aquatic Vanguard didn't. And I don't want to sit here and be negative, but I want to point out this is something that happens every single time. It's a difficult tournament. Doesn't mean you're a bad team necessarily. Just had a rough Saturday. Some of these teams, though, didn't have a rough Saturday. And they had a really good run of things. So let's take a look at my winners from Saturday from the Swiss stage. First off, shout-outs to Eternal Oblivion. That's the right way to pronounce that. Who went 5-1 in this past long week, getting key wins against Celestria, Seasick, MK, the Origami Dragon, and Honorbound. Now, Eternal Oblivion, a name like that, isn't that just like the same thing as Shadow Realm? Like, you just pull up the thesaurus and change Shadow Realm to Eternal Oblivion? It seems like the same exact thing, right? They went 4-2 in the past month with this very Eternal Oblivion dark name. They got Gamma Bracket last time. This time around, they got top 32. Ink Black went 4-2 in this Blowink, going key wins against Splatsville Idol Group, Eternal Oblivion, the Whip Rays, Deep Sea Dissonance, and those are the 4 teams that they won against there. Now, it's you know what's interesting about Ink Black? There's another team in this tournament called Black Ink that played in the past too. Like, it's, what is it with Black Ink all of a sudden popping up as a popular team name? And don't get those two names confused, because Ink Black is the much better version of this team. They went 4-2 qualifying. They went 5-1 last month, but they still found their way into the top 32. Keep an eye on that one. Toolbox went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Red Leviathan, Celestria, Hallucination, and Tesco's Finest. That was on stream. This is the first low ink since May for this Toolbox team. Toolbox played in the last low ink, but they didn't check in. Went 0-1 against the check-in button. This time they did check in and did pretty good. How about my favorite team name? Save it with me now, because it's your favorite team name as well. Splabooey! Splabooey went 4-2 in this low ink, getting key wins over Undersea Spectacle, Mysterious Cults, Kingdom, Krill Streak as well. Not just a good team name, they're now actually becoming a pretty good team. So nicely done, Splabooey. And as somebody pointed out on Twitter, hey, these guys got 8 players. That's pretty silly. This is low ink. You need a lot of players to win it, to survive 2 days. You're not going to see 8 players anywhere else in the world, because if you have somebody drop an SOS, you know what you can do? You could literally just go in the Twitch chat and be like, hey, can anybody play for us? It's an open invite tournament. Low skill cap tournaments make it very difficult with rosters. That's why you see 8 players sign up. It's not a bizarre thing, and some of these players don't actually play for that team. They're just there. But Splabooey, nicely done to them. I believe they got a win on stream as well against Krill Streak. That's where that tweet came from. Retro Radio went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Day Old Gyoza. God, it's not a Popcast episode without me butchering words here. Galaxy Squids, the Bottom Fears, and Alliance Moon. This time, Retro Radio's 4-2 record was good enough to make them into the top 32 and into Alpha Bracket, which they didn't make last time around. Retro Radio, nicely done to them. Just Squidding. They went 4-2 in this tournament, getting key wins over Krill Streak, Continuous Virtue, and Retro Radio. Back-to-back months of Just Squidding doing a fantastic job. I do want to point out, Continuous Virtue, I do have a little bit of an issue with them because their name is Continuous Virtue. They played in this low ink, but they hadn't played in a low ink since like May or April. So how can you call yourself continuous when there's a very obvious break and gap there? I think you need to change your name. Maybe to something a little bit cool like Eternal Oblivion. Distinct Went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over Say Gex, Bottom Feeders, Sea Drive, and Smoking Moes. Hey, there's been a distinct lack of love for distinct in this podcast series. We need to change that. These guys are really damn good. They need to be in the top 10. I think I said that last time, and I forgot because I was watching my wife suck snot out of my son's nose. So, distinct. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more credit when I can here. 5-1 in this past low ink. I believe we'll talk a little bit more about them later because they did really good in Alpha Bracket as well. Speaking about teams that have done good consistently in low ink, and I haven't talked about them enough, Minor Inconvenience. They went 5-1 on Saturday, getting key wins over Skill Issue, Low Ink Tier God, White Siege, Zestfest, and not your, but my Lag Paradise. Underrepresentation is the Minor Inconvenience team. It has something to do with the fact that these teams just have ink in their name, and I hate that. So maybe that's why I don't talk about these teams enough. But there you go, Minor Inconvenience. You went 5-1 and did pretty good in this tournament. Really pretty good. Luminous went 4-2, getting key wins over Cool Down, Magnet Iris, 5+7 Supremacy, and White Siege. Luminous did better than expected according to our very brief, very non-important to anything seeding. So nicely done to Luminous. We'll keep an eye on you guys going forward, not to be confused with the Luminous Kelpers, I believe, who have the same exact word there. Oh boy. Eepy Dreepy. Come on down. You went 5-1 in low ink, getting key wins over Shinobi Alliance, the Fallen Squids, Recovery, Zestfest, and Royal Succulents. Eepy Dreepy. That's is that a good name? Do we like Eepy Dreepy? What, I don't know. I guess we'll give them a tip of the cap for that team name, but they play pretty good. I don't really care what their team name is because they're pretty good. Chat says it's okay. Chat is rolling with it. So, wow, EP Dreepy fans lighting up the chat all of a sudden. Fair enough. Do you guys feel just the same about Bagel Time? That's where we'll find out. Is EP Dreepy better than Bagel Time? Well, Bagel Time went 5-1, getting key wins over the Elo Devils, Aquatic Vanguard, Double Trouble, Starfish, and the Night Logic. Now, bagels, toasted bagels with a good cream cheese spread is the way to go. Personally, I like a brown cinnamon sugar cream cheese or strawberry, and you get that on a cinnamon bagel. Now, you might think cinnamon sugar spread on a cinnamon bagel is too much. It's not. And you might think cinnamon sugar bagel with strawberry spread is too weird. It's not. Both of them work out, and they're good for any time that you want to have a bagel. When pizza's on a bagel, you can have pizza anytime. Or bagel time. Turning Tides. Turn the tide in this low ink. They went 6-0. In their group, getting key wins over Super Team 5, Aquatic Vanguard, Scarlet Inc., Breakdown, Pickup Version, Head, and Surf and Turf. Turning Tides went 4-2 back in July. They turned the tides. I went 6-0 this time around. Nicely done there. I believe Surf and Turf got a little bit of revenge on them in Alpha Bracket, but they got the better end of them on Saturday. October Rift went 5-1 in this tournament, getting key wins over the Humpback Haters, Zero Magnum, Scarlet Inc., Super Team 5, and the Elegant Diamond. Now, October Rift intentionally threw in this low ink because they didn't want to win this one. Why? Because how messed up would it be for a team called October Rift to win the August low ink? And if you think about it, the next low ink is not going to be September. The next low ink is going to be in October. That means October Rift guaranteed to win the very next low ink. They went 5-1 in this one, though, just to give you a little bit of flex, a little bit of taste of what's to come in the next low ink. They're not the biggest winner, though. The biggest winner from Saturday goes out to the undefeated Free Flow, who went 6-0 on Saturday, getting key wins over 0-2. The Star Seekers, fan favorite Eepy Dreepy, Cool Down, Project Sunmer, and Minor Inconvenience. Now, Free Flow, made up of players formerly of Outcast Ninjas, who play every other low ink, have now been playing kind of consistently and are getting really good results. Free Flow did play at the Metro Inc. LAN last month, and they're continuing that success into low ink, 6-0, and did pretty good in alpha bracket as well. They are a legit contender going forward if they don't get banned outright to the low ink. But as far as I'm concerned, they are the biggest winner from Saturday. Give it up for Free Flow. All right. How'd Saturday go? Let's take a look at that. Start with Delta and work our way on down. First off, a little bit of shout out here to White Siege and the Star Streakers as the teams that got the decent run into losers bracket this time around. Star Seekers getting 3 wins through losers, White Siege getting a couple before the Ben Thick Brigade, we've all been there, knocks them out here. So give them a little bit of shout outs to that. Nicely done to them. The 3 teams I want to talk about, though, in the top 3. First off, the Ben Thick Brigade. This is a top 10 caliber team. I think they were in the top 10 of the community, if not the honorable mention section, but they are a team that is a threat to win it. This isn't the bracket they want to be in, but even more impressively is the fact that Origami Dragons were able to beat them 3-0. That is a monstrous win. That is a really... Hold on a sec. I want to just check something. I want to make sure they actually played that. I honestly, to God, do not believe Origami Dragons 3-0'd them. No, they actually played it. That wasn't a drop. The Origami Dragons swept Ben Thick Brigade straight up. I had to look in the chat. I wasn't going to show you guys the chat. Wow. That is a statement win for the Origami Dragons, who is constantly making big moves right up into the right direction. Nicely done to them. Now, Scarlet Inc., their little Squid League rival, got a little bit of the better end of the stick here in Delta Bracket. Hats off to Scarlet Inc., though, because these guys are the team that I talk about every little Squid League because they do nothing but get the third place match over and over and over and over again. Well, they finally won a tournament. They didn't settle for third place. They didn't settle for bronze. They got gold of Delta Bracket, and they didn't lose any sets along the way. Camp Flyfish, get out of here. Star Seekers, how about loser bracket seekers? Go seek that. Ben Thick Brigade, goodbye. Origami Dragons, you guys are surprisingly competitive with us, but we're still the better team here. So Scarlet Inc., I feel good for these guys because they've come so close to Little Squid League. And they finally get a tournament win. But man, Origami Dragons, I almost want to say they're the better story. Man, they 3-0'd. What was up with the Dragons today? They did not lose a single game to anybody except for the team that won the whole tournament, Scarlet Inc., or the whole bracket, Scarlet Inc. Damn, Origami Dragons, calm down. My goodness. By far their best Sunday. Whoo. Let's take a look at Gamma Bracket here. Now, this is the, this is where things get awkward, but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. First off, I want to give a shout out to the teams that did the good through the losers bracket. Obviously, Aquatic Vanguard, Elegant Diamond got a couple of wins here. Fallen, this is pronounced Fallen Squids, right? Like, I'm just going to roll with that. Got a couple of wins here before the Smoking Moais. This is the one team that able to knock them out at the end there. The 3 teams I want to talk about, though. First off, Downpour, the team that got third place in this one. They got top 8 in the most recent Minnow Cup, I believe. And again, this is Gamma Bracket, obviously a very competitive Gamma Bracket. Look who's the only team that beat them. Team 7 and Aquatic Vanguard. That's you expect to lose to these teams in Alpha Bracket, not Gamma. But Downpour, a good showing from them. Just ran into some tough teams along the way. Aquatic Vanguard, I have nothing new to say about them. I always appreciate the fact that they play every single Sunday, regardless of what bracket that they're in. And I don't have anything new to add to that, except congratulations to Ike, who got engaged during last Low Inc. I don't know if Ike played in this one or not, but that's worth noting. Team 7. Let's talk about Team 7 here. Because this was a team that should have been on everyone's top 10. They were in mine. I think they were in the community one. If not, the community didn't realize these guys signed up and played, because this was the team that finished in second place 2 months ago. The problem with Team 7 is, and I don't know why, they went 4-2, so I think they only lost twice. Just opponent win percentage kept them out, which if you don't want tiebreakers to work against you, don't lose your games. That's my argument to that. But Team 7, the last time we saw them, they're just way too silly. They're just way too silly. And I know this is Low Inc., and there's a lot of teams that do off-meta things. Like, going off-meta is fine, as long as what you're doing makes sense. Like, the experiments make sense. Oh, Double Junior. Okay, that's weird, but it can at least be explained as to what the mindset is. Team 7, the things they do make no sense. Literally make no sense what they were doing. At one point, they were doing like what? I forget the comp they did last month. But last time we saw them was in the Minnow Cup Tower Control game, where they were in grand finals against Surf and Turf, up 1-0 against Surf and Turf, and then in game 2, they pulled out a Clash Blaster. It's like, what are you guys doing? So Team 7, I don't know. I didn't see any of their gameplay, but just from what I know of Team 7, they are probably the best skilled team in this tournament, even though they won Gamma. Did they lose to anybody? Fallen Squids took one game off of them. That's it. They just curb stomped everybody else. They're the best skilled team in this tournament. They're just the least disciplined team in this tournament, and that's what's cost them in the past. And I would really love to see what their comps was this time around, because man, they get a little funky sometimes. Sometimes it just be like that. Congratulations on winning Gamma, though. Beta bracket. Now, this is where we get into some of the let's just cut straight to the chase. Project Blank. Now, before any of you start crying in chat about conspiracy theories and stuff you saw on Twitter, let's straight into this. I've seen the accusations. I've seen all that stuff. I don't know what to make of it. And quite honestly, from what these players have shown the last 2 months, they seem to be playing at a low skill level. Okay? That's it. There's stuff we'll look into as low staff. And for the love of God, don't DM us. Oh, this player said this. Like, we don't care about crap. We want actual stuff. So don't DM us anything. We'll look into it. I'll just say this. Project Blank clearly plays at a low level. Let's just roll with that. Congrats to Erpy Derpy for getting second place here. Just Squidding following up. Just Squidding following up the good Saturdays they had back-to-back to getting third place in this one. And I wish I had something nice to say about Super Team 5, but I don't know anything about them, and I didn't look anything up because beta bracket's awkward enough as it is. So there you go. Did I call him Erpy Derpy? Eepy Dreepy. I threw some letters in there that didn't actually exist. My bad. And there you guys go yet again, spreading misinformation in the chat. That is why we call you the idiots in chat. You just take screenshots and think it's something we should be talking about. It's not. Instead, we're going to talk about the Toyota RAV4s, the Toy Squidda RAV4s. Before we get to Honda Squiddick, and I haven't said anything about them yet. We'll get to don't go back into the VOD and feel like I've missed. No, I haven't said anything about them yet. Let's go through these other teams. First off, Amora is sneakily amazing. and I didn't realize that. Amora's played in low ink before. The last low ink they played in last month, they made top 32, but got absolutely curb stomped in top 32. They got eliminated round one of beta bracket to overtime. So this is a huge glow up for Amora. And I want to point something out. Amora went 6-0 on Saturday. I think they went undefeated in their group stage as well. Not per games, but per sets. And one of the teams they beat, I believe, was Honda Squivik. So this is a little bit of a rematch here. I think they're the only team to beat Honda Squivik, honestly. But Amora almost had a perfect tournament. They were really, really good with what they did. And the glow up from what they did last month is very substantial. So nicely done to them, especially beating Surf and Turf on stream. I believe Surf and Turf was up 1-0 and then Amora came back and swept, or they won the first game. I was literally washing bottles during this set while this wasn't on stream, and I was just listening to it. Again, shout out to Knox and Saf for doing a fantastic job commentating grand finals of this tournament all the way through. Joe Midberg, I had them in my top 10. This is one of the advantages I have over like the community poll and anybody else that makes the top 10 is that I get to see the verification. Joe Midberg is that Koi Pond team that went 6-0 a couple of lowings ago. It's usually just a pickup. I believe it's players from Germany. I could be wrong about that. But they always do good no matter what their name is. This is just the name that they had this time around. So Joe Midberg, top 10. I believe I had him at number 9 and they finished top 8. So got that one ranked. Surf and Turf. I'm happy Surf and Turf is consistent. Usually a team that's in Surf and Turf's category of the hunted, the favorites of everybody's looking at them as the team to win it. Usually that team chokes every now and then, but Surf and Turf is consistently getting to this spot. 4th place overall. I believe that's the same spot that they got last month. So this is good for Surf and Turf. They're winning Minnow Cups. They're making top 4. It seems like they're on pace to get banned outright before they win this thing, but there's still a feel-good story from where they started out and the nonsense that went in the middle to where they've come out a better side now. So hats off to them. And obviously the two teams I give no credit to played each other round 1 distinct, upsetting technically the number 1 seed Miter Inconvenience. Distinct looked like a team on the mission. Moo, matter of opinion, get out of here. You just swept the Silly Gooses. We're going to sweep you right back until they got run over by Honda Squivik. And this is where I owe them an apology. I'm sorry, Honda Squivik. I didn't believe in you guys. I didn't put you in my top 10. I put you in the top 10 last month. And the only reason I put you guys, I'll be completely honest. The only reason I put Honda Squivik in the top 10 last month is because everybody else was hyping them up on Twitter. And I was so confused. I was so confused why everyone was hyping them up because I was the one who verified them. And I was like, because people were saying, how are they not banned from low ink? And I was looking at the results they had and I was like, but why would you ban them from low ink? So at some points, I thought everyone was hyping them up as a meme. So just to be safe, I put them in my top 10. And when they didn't do good last month. They didn't do good at all. So that's when I was convinced that everyone trolled me into getting them into the top 10. And I was like, all right, here we go. So they come back, they sign up again next month. Everyone's hyping them up again. And then what do? They go off and win the whole damn tournament. The only team that beat them, Amora, they got revenge on them, almost swept them. Almost the first time in Splatoon 3 history of low ink that a team got swept. The biggest win ever was a 4-1 win of Velocity when they won their low ink. But other than that, every single grand finals has been a 4-2, 4-3. I think more low ink grand finals have seen a game 7 than not. So Honda Squivik was on their way to just sweeping the best team in the tournament out of grand finals. And then Amora was like, wait a minute. We've been playing you guys super close in all of the losses. What if we just didn't choke at the end? And then Amora was like, oh, wait, yeah, that's the strategy. And they won 2 in a row, and a very scrappy game 6. I thought for sure Amora was going to come back and reverse sweep because they had that kind of anime protagonist energy built up. But Honda Squivik, hats off to you guys. You did it. I doubted you. I never believed in you, Honda Squivik. But I will say this because, yes, we have a Toyota, a RAV4, very nice, hybrid, brand new. And Toyotas are great. Hondas are just as good in my book. The next car, honestly, and I'm not just like saying this because of this, the next car I want to get is honestly a Honda Civic. Because I think that's a good combo, having like the mid-size SUV with the sedan, and I feel like Hondas are really solid cars. This is getting to this awkward plugging territory, but there you go, Honda Squiddick. I didn't believe in you guys, and I came out of paternity leave early to let you know that I believe in you now. Now, are you going to be the first team ever to win Low Ink twice? Well, apparently. We let in anybody who's Div 2, I guess, so why not? Let's run it back. Rose, you left a highlighted message, and I can't scroll up that high anymore. I'm sorry. I should have read it earlier. Triton, apologies for circling back to Splat World Championships, but thought on chatting with Splat... like thoughts on me doing it? I don't. DRF. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you got that connection, you want to set it up, I'll talk. I don't think they want to talk to me though. I think they much rather talk to Starburst and Alliance Rogue, and Jackpot. What's better, Honda or Toyota? Whichever one sponsors me first. We'll roll with that. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Popcast. Will there be one next week? I don't know. But there'll definitely be one 2 weeks from now with a special guest host. Who'll be a part of that one. In the meantime, if you'd like to be a part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out. My socials below: Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, Discord at just Popgun, TikTok at Mr._Popgun. All of the channels I watch now. I don't watch Splatoon. What I watch is just speedrunning gaming. That's when PJ is up. So I got the night shift so that my wife and I can both get bulk sleep. She watches him during the morning. I watch him at night. I watch him till like 2 to 3 in the morning, and I need something to keep myself focused. So I've been watching a lot of speedrunning on Twitch. It's pretty hilarious. Let's go to here. Is that going to work? Yeah. Okay, cool. Hey, get vaccinated, stay safe, sign up for Riptide, and we'll see you guys again at some point in the future. And I don't know. Stay safe. It's good to see y'all again. Unless it wasn't.